your sessions.
Started. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask, maybe Cyril, do you know if anyone's supposed to join us?
But we have, everyone's here except for Elias. I don't know what happened to him. Leia, do you know what happened to Elias?
Yeah, I talked to him. He's working with Margot right now, so he'll be in the Zoom in a couple of minutes. I don't know.
Okay, he's coming in later. He's just talking to the director.
Okay. Okay. So hopefully I will see him on the waiting room. If not, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll let you know. We'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so how is everybody doing? Do you need you good to go, or should we take a break? What should we do? Yeah? Okay, so we're gonna go. So what we're going to focus today is Chumash. So I want to share with you how I felt when I knew that I'm gonna give the Chumash training. I was thinking, so when I was planning my days, I'm like, okay, one day we'll focus on Dukaduk, grammar. Second day we'll focus on Chumash, and then the Chagim. And then I was thinking to myself, Dukaduk, okay, scope and sequence, there's structure, there's manual, there's no problem, right? I can give them their training. And then I was thinking about Chumash training, and I had a conversation with my husband, and I was saying, I'm going into this training with a little bit of chashash, with a little bit of ira'ah, because I'm not just teaching a subject, I'm teaching derech chaim, I'm teaching divrei Elokim chaim. How do you do it? How do you giving a training on how to teach Chumash? And then I was thinking about the phrase that Chazal מלמדים אותנו בין 5 למקרא ובין 10 למשנה. What does it mean? They are guiding us to remember that we are teaching young children, and we need to make sure that we adapt the learning to their developmental stage. בין 5 למקרא, what does that mean? פשט הדברים means קריאה, right? You read the story and the kid connects it on the emotional level. So the way that I see it, when you go and you teach Chumash, you have to connect. You have to connect the Limud Torah to the lev. You have to connect it to the neshama. How do you do it? How do you teach someone who's 5, 6 years old that the love for Chumash? You show enthusiasm. You show your emotion. You wear your emotion. You wonder. You ask questions. You really wonder, why was it important that Hashem decided to put that in the Torah? Why is it like that? And Ben Eser LeMishnah, that is the time for lamdanut. That is the time where the kid, when you could see the actions of the researcher mind, Hasechel HaChoker, you could see that the kid is asking why, and is it fair? And he's researching. He's even like moral research. And our goal is really to trigger, first and foremost, is to love the lesson. Chumash lesson should always be given be'ahava, behana'ah. Should enjoy giving it. And therefore, like, the kids will enjoy receiving the lesson from you. Einstein said, education is that which remains if one has forgotten everything he learned in school. Right? חינוך זה כל מה שזוכרים אחרי ששוכחים מה למדנו בבית ספר. And this is the main point. It is difficult to give training for Chumash if I'm asking you to connect it to your emotions, because everybody comes from a different emotional world. But so what we're going to do today, we're going to open our eyes to different kivunei machshava, methodical ideas, and I'll give you as many tips as possible for you to be able to connect your limud Torah, your lessons, to love. You need to ignite that excitement in the child for learning Torah. we're learning about the prepare environment, the prepare teacher, the prepare teacher. You need to be prepared for those lessons. You need to show that you can't wait to give them that lesson. Because maasim moshchim levavot, actions, they just draw the heart. We are doing the real thing here, and the real thing is limud Torah. So another thing that I want to add is that limud Torah does not occur at a certain specific time of the day. It happens all the time. It happens during work cycle. It can happen during playtime. It could happen during lunch. For example, one of my students, he was sick, didn't come for 3 days, and I told the kids, I spoke to the mother, and it seems like he's not feeling good. And I said, and they all like, oh no. And I said, what can we do? What can we do? I said, where in the Torah do we learn that someone was feeling sick? Right? In Parashat Vayera, Avraham is sitting in the tent, waiting for Orchim, waiting for someone to invite. And he's right after his Brit Milah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that he's sad, and he sends over Anashim, which we know it's Malachim. Bikur Cholim, somebody shouted, Bikur Cholim, we could do Bikur Cholim, we could do that mitzvah. And that's exactly what we did. We called the student, and they all said, Refuah Shlema, we miss you. And they made it so like, we can't wait for you to come. I will show you all the works. Like, it was just so sweet. So limud Torah really happens throughout the day. So I have a question for you, and this is a time for you to, if you want, and if you're possible, to take yourself off of mute. טוב. מה זה? מה אני מחזיקה? מה זה? מי יכול להגיד לי?
זה חומש.
זה חומש, נכון. מה זה חומש? מה זה תורה? מה זה? What is Torah for you?
It's the Torah that Hashem gave to Moshe in Har Sinai, and he gave to us.
Okay, how does it affect our day? Like just any days?
Like the manual that Hashem gave to us, so we can, conduct ourselves in the world with other people.
So it's like derech chaim, נכון? There is no right or wrong questions. I just want to hear, what is Torah for you? How do you feel about teaching Torah? Is it something that excites you? It's something that is daunting, God forbid. I mean, how do you feel about knowing that you're going to be teaching Torah? Yes, Baba.
So I think it's the answers. So any questions that come up, you can find the answers, but it's something that is a connection that you have to search for. So the answers are not necessarily written, but all through your life, there's different questions and different answers, but that's where the answers are.
Right. For me, I mean, it could be Mesorah. It's a book of mitzvot. It's a derech chaim, right? So,
yes.
And I was, anyone wants to add something? Okay, so when I was thinking about how to teach it, right? Because I said you need to come prepared. You need to prepare your lesson. You need to be very mindful. So what your goal should be when you learn Torah, when you teach Torah, I'm sorry. There are many, many goals. I'm going to focus on 5. But again, you could have other goals, okay? One of them is technical, Kriya. I want to see if they're able to read Torah, if they could read it, just read it out loud, Kriya. Another thing is hakarat hasipur v'chasifa la'omek. So knowing the story and exposure to depth, and I would expand on each one of them. Another thing is another technical thing is havanat hasafa, understanding the language, the dikduk role, ta'alim, right? Another, I would want to teach them arachim, right? What are the values that we learn? And one more is chibur rigshi, emotional connection. Okay, right? והאר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך. Really want them to have an emotional connection. So I'm going to share this picture with you so you can see, because we're going to talk about each and every one of this. Yep. Okay. Can you see it? I hope nothing's going to pop up. Okay, so on the far right, you could see Kriya, right? How do we do that? What are the goals in Kriya? This is like big topics, and then we're going to have subtopics to each one. Kriya, we want to give them skills, miyumaniyot. Skills, for example, one of them is metziat perek pasuk, right? You come with a chumash. How do you even deal with it? What do you do? What do you do with this? How can I be with everybody in the classroom? How can I get them all to be on the same page, right? So you need to give them the skills of finding perek pasuk. One way that I do it is by telling them, Mi yachol limtzo li et hamila rishona, who can find the first word in the perek yudbet pasuk daled. Right away, they look through, right? And then you keep on giving them more and more mekorot, more and more sources, and you let them practice that. That could be a work on its own. You could give them 5 mekorot and say, write in your machberet, the perek, the pasuk, and what's the first word of the pasuk. Another one is diuk. In Kriya, you want to have a diuk. Because when they're improving their reading fluency, when you read correctly, then you understand better. You understand more. Ma'akav im ha'etzba, following along with their finger. Even if they don't read, that on its own is amazing, right? So really, when you read the Chumash, when a friend is reading from the Chumash, you tell everybody, etzba al Chumash, and follow along. Because even if they're not reading out loud, they're reading with their eyes. So they practicing their kriya. Okay. So when a student is reading to you, I said it yesterday also, you need to be very mindful and careful of how you tell them to correct them, how you get them to correct themselves. You could say, let's try to read that word one more time. Or, oh, let's just be mindful about this letter. What sound does it make, right? So just be very mindful of how you critique their kriya. Okay, Havanat Nikra, we're over here in the center. Havanat Nikra, understanding the language. First, you do it slowly. They come to a Chumash and boom, they see a huge text, many words, and it just looks like a jungle for them. Like, what do you do? So you have to show them that the text is manageable. You show them all the words that they're already familiar with. You teach them prefix, you teach them suffix, and you teach them how to cut words with their eyes. Cut it from the prefix, cut it from the suffix, and I'm going to do this today. You could do it in actual lesson. Migmalecha. Migmalecha. How do I do it? I take my scissor. Me. What is it? What does mem stands for? What prefix mem? From, right?
Preposition.
Right. It's preposition. It's from your, plural yud I have here, from your camels. From your camels. And he's showing them, look, we could really cut down the words. We could cut it out and we could really understand it. So that's one thing that you could use. You could use index cards that you could cut. You could use, sentence strips. You could just show them how you cut out the words, and then they get to do it in their head later on the year. Okay. Let me see that I'm not missing anything. Another thing in Havanata Safa is Targum. people thinking, oh, translation, okay, from Hebrew to English, right? From Hebrew to Hebrew. Hebrew to Hebrew, how do you translate from Hebrew to Hebrew?
Interpret.
Right, you take the word from Hebrew and you translate it to the word that you know that they know in Hebrew.
Michal, could you let Malki in, please?
Yes. Give me a second. Thank you. So from
Daniela, I don't think she can see you while she's sharing her screen.
Daniela has her hand up.
Thank you. Yes, Daniela, thank you. I'm going to do
Thanks, guys.
gallery though. But yeah, just as I said before, you could just unmute yourself and yeah, and say, yeah.
Okay, thank you. My question was when you were showing the kartis with the gmalim,
Migmalecha?
the one with migmalecha, and you were talking about the me being preposition, et cetera, scope and sequence wise. Yesterday we were talking about adjectives and nouns, obviously that's more elementary than the preposition. Right. So when would you?
Right. So
are you getting what I'm asking?
I'm just giving, yeah. Now I'm just giving you introductions to Chumash, but later on today, oh, that's something that I didn't do. I'm gonna go, you know, sorry about that. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna go over the schedule of the day because that was on my schedule and I forgot to do that. I'll tell you what the schedule of the day, right? So we had the presentation going over the day, and then we're going to have introduction to Chumash in a very big, you know, way, just the introduction of what to look for when you teach Chumash. And then we're going to, after this session, we're going to focus in the Chumash for Kita Aleph. We're going to have a lunch break, and after lunch break, we'll have Chumash for Kita Bet and Gimel, and that's when you're going to see all the parts. Obviously, this is not for Kita Aleph, right? Not, sorry. That's not for Kita Aleph, the whole word. But you would see that slowly we will teach them prefixes. We will teach them prefixes. Second graders learning suffixes and the plural yud, and Kita Gimel master all this, and that's Kita Gimel is actually when we use a real Chumash. Because today, I don't know if you did the printing. Did you guys got to print the things for today? That was on the Google Classroom, little worksheets. You will see it under today's schedule. Okay, so I hope that answered your question, Daniela. You would see it today. You would see what the goal
yes, thank you.
of every age. Okay. Let me see. Here. Okay. So we're in a Havanat HaSicha, right? So Targum Ivrit Leivrit. If you know that you read in the Chumash, they read in the Chumash, Goy, Vascha leGoy Gadol. Ma ze Goy? They say, oh, Goy ze Am. Am. Ma ze Am? And then they will tell you, Mo Am Israel, nation, right? So you translate from Hebrew to Hebrew versus just like Hebrew and giving them the answer. Nefesh, what's a translation for nefesh? Neshama, that word they know, from Tefillah. Another thing of Havanat HaSafa is Palim. Try to teach them common verbs that they could find and they could hear during the day in the classroom, and also verbs that they could find in the Chumash. For example, Shoresh Amar. And they will see it all the time in the Chumash. Vayomer, when you use Shoresh Yashav, Talmidim Lashevet, Nachnu Yoshvim, and then you find it in the Chumash, Vayeshev, right? So try to find those Shorashim and Palim that you can keep on using. Chalukat Pasuk in Kartisim. This is something that you could, it's very good to do with third graders, is that you find a Pasuk and you say, we're going to work together as a team to translate that Pasuk. you will give each one an index card, and you will write one word and you would say, translate it, symbolize it, and come back to the next lesson with the card translated. And then you start the lesson with asking them to lay it out in a way that makes sense, right? You need to be very mindful about that it makes sense, because in the way that you translate from English to Hebrew, there should be some sort of harmony in the way that you translate the thing, right? For example, Vayomer Hashem, זה לא, and he said God, right? And God said. So you need to be in a way that that it makes sense. And
Michal, sorry, Gina is trying to enter the Zoom.
who?
Gina.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
for keeping an eye on that. Okay.
Michal, there's a way you could put this screen from side to side. Like you could have your shared screen and you could see all the participants. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Do you want to tell me how?
Look on top where it says the options, where you're sharing your screen, and on the side of that you could say show options. On the top of your
like a new share?
No, on top of your screen it should say like you're sharing your screen.
You
You
see
see
it? You see it on my screen right now?
No, only you could see it.
Because I don't think that it's I think every computer is different. Mac is.
Take your mouse all the way up to the top, all the way up. Keep going up to the top, not on your screen, but all the way up on your computer.
She's using a Mac, so it's different.
Yeah, on Mac is different. The
I
options.
have a Mac also.
יש לי Mac too, honey. את הולכת למעלה בצד ימין, יש לך כאלה מרובעים, מלא מלא מרובעים, את לוחצת על זה.
No.
On the other side? No.
Maybe on the bottom. It's something that has to pop up with your mouse, but it's okay if you can't figure it out.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay, don't worry. It's like a side to side mode. So you can share your screen and see the participants.
Yeah, I think that it's something that I need to, set before.
Okay.
Okay. So, but you know what? I could do this. You cannot, can you see this, the participant?
Yes.
Oh, you see it.
We see your sharing screen.
Okay, perfect. So you don't see the other stuff. So this is a way that I can keep an eye on you and the waiting room. Okay, so where were we? Okay, right. So Avanat HaSafa, right? So in big, this is little tips and little subtopics, what you could work on for them to understand the language, right? They could do פעלים, translation from עברית לעברית, dividing the pasuk. So the beauty in it is that you're showing them how you could do limud Torah b'chavruta. So they all come together and they all need to have their index card translated, and they put it together. And if they don't put their card down, then it's not going to make sense. Okay, so הכרת הסיפור וחשיפה לעומק, knowing the story and exposure to depth. It's the way that you could achieve that is by לעורר שאלות, לעורר שאלת שאלות. You need to get them to think and ask questions, arouse their curiosity, get them to think. So you tell them what's happening in the Chumash, and then you're waiting. You're waiting for them to ask a question, and you have to give them the chance to think of an answer. They would ask you, like, for example, Vayarat Avraham el Nar, right? He saw the orchim and he's running to the Nar to get the bakar, the meat ready. Who was that Nar? A lot of times you're just waiting, you're just staying, and he ran to the boy. And you just wait. And they say, who's that boy? And I said, that's a beautiful question. Who is that boy? Let's see what Rashi says about it. Nachon, Ishmael, and you have to see their faces when they understand, oh, right, Avraham Avinu has Ishmael. And then I asked them, well, why do you think that Avraham Avinu is doing it? Can't he just prepare the meat by himself? Why does he have to give it to Ishmael to prepare the meat? What is he trying to do? And a lot of time they would say, well, his parents are, Avraham Avinu is trying to teach his son to do mitzvot, right? So you really get them to think, really get them to ask questions. Another thing is chazara, for them to really have enough, for them to really understand the story. There is a flow, right? So every lesson, you end with a summary of what we learned. In the following lesson, you start with a summary of what we learned before. So every lesson has a summary of what we learned, and the end of the lesson has a summary of what we just learned this lesson. So there is a flow. And a way that I like to, every lesson, the way that I plan my, I'm sorry, it's a little loud from someone's house, so I can't tell who. Just maybe everybody, if it's a little loud by you, you could see it.
I took 6 because the Chumash I got the beach cost. So I'll play with my money.
So the way that I do it,
So what do you need 6 for?
Halukat Perakim. So I have a
I'll
perek.
give you 20 instead of 14.
Lidas y Malky tienen que apagar tus micrófonos. You have to close your microphone. Lidas also.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So if you have a perek, right, then you could use this kind of like strips, and you say, with this you do at home. You think to yourself, how do you want to divide the perek? Because you can't just come and say, spend 20 lessons on one perek, or, you know, spend one lesson on one perek, right? It's impossible. So you need to kind of divide it according to subjects. And then every subject, you will kind of come with a title. You let them think of the title, but then you would have it on. So when you're done with a lesson, you would say, today, this is what we learned. It's like a title of the lesson. In the next lesson, you will come with a title, and you would come with a title of the lesson before, and you would see that before you know it, you get to the end of the perek, and you have all these titles, and you could show it to them, and they could tell you the whole story. They could tell you what we learned in the perek according to subjects, right? So that's another thing that, you know, get them to know the story, yeah, what happens in the Chumash. Another way of doing it is chidonim. My students love chidonim, like little pop quiz. When I give them a sheet of mi ani, mi amar lami, right? Who am I? And you give them a pasuk, or you give them a hint of the character. Another, you can get them לעורר חשיבה על רגשות של הדמויות. You always try to ask them, how do you think Avraham Avinu felt? He just had a brit milah. He's sitting in the entrance of the tent. He's waiting for what? What is he waiting for? אורחים. אבל הקדוש ברוך הוא שולח מזג אוויר חם, not to bother Avraham Avinu, to let him, give him the time to rest. But how does Avraham Avinu feel? Does he feel the pain of the brit milah? Or he feels pain because he's waiting, he wants to fulfill a mitzvah? Get them to think of how the demuyot felt, how our forefather felt. Also, Eliezer, when he was sent to find a isha, a wife for Yitzchak, what a huge responsibility. How do you think he felt? How did Eliezer feel? Okay, so always get them to think about the demuyot. Chazara al motivim yaduim. Okay, review on motive. I don't know how you say it in English. Motives, right? Motivim, something that we always see throughout Chumash. Haftachat haaretz, hazera. Hakadosh Baruch Hu always promised us the land, promised us the zera, the zera Avraham will be so great, right? Like the stars and the sand on the beach. Okay, so that's Hakarat HaSipur. anyone has any questions or wants to share a comment.
I have a question. Do you mind just explaining what you showed us about the parakim? Like you had like I didn't really get that.
This,
Yeah.
you don't have to use this kind of strip, but it's like it's a strip that I got from General Studies. I use it a lot.
Okay.
But basically, when I go and I plan the Chumash curriculum, I look at Perek and I'm looking at the topics that I want to teach them. I say Pasuk Aleph ad Chet. I don't know if I could share a page that when I set to plan my I think it's upstairs. Oh no, it's right here. Just give me a second. Okay. So when I sit down to plan the division of the perek, I want to have a plan. I want to say pasuk. Let me see. Wait, instead of talking, I'll just find the paper, and I think it would be easier for you. Oh, here. For example, when I come to teach Chumash Lekita Bet, and I know that we teach Lech Lecha, then I would say, okay, Perek Yud Bet, I will divide it to 3 subtopics. Psukim Aleph ad Vav, you read in the Torah, and you're thinking, so okay, Yetziat Avraham Avinu Mimoladato, right? So you would take this, when you read this, the psukim with them, and you learn it with them, then you would take this strip and you would write the title. Who can summarize to me what we learned in psukim Aleph ad Vav? Right? What happened? Where was Avraham? Avraham left Haran, nachon? So you say, let's write it. Yetziat Avraham Mimoladato. And you have this. Okay? Pasuk Zayin ad Tet, it's Hitgalut HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaAvram. Right? So you write that down. Pasuk Yud ad Kaf, it's Yeridat Avram LeMitzrayim V'Sarai V'Bet Paro. You just have to read it and say, again, look at your goals and say, what do I want them to take from the lesson, and how can I summarize it in a title? The whole psukim from Yud ad Kaf, how can I summarize it in one title? What happened? Because when you come to the lesson and you have all the strips, one after another, then there is a flow of what happened in Perek Yud Bet.
So each strip is a summary?
Each strip is a lesson.
Okay, and how long do you take on a perek?
What?
How long do you take on a perek? Like, is there a specific time that you have?
No, because it really depends on, what the perek is about, and what am I trying, what my goals are, and also what the administration is expecting you to do, right? Because my 3rd graders are expected to do something, so when they go to upper elementary, then Moradasi can take from that and continue, right? So they need to be ready for her to teach them. I teach Gimel until Parashat Vayetze. Yeah. So you just need to think, like, there are certain prakim that I don't think it's appropriate for them. So I won't emphasize on that so much, right? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. I'm just thinking of something that I thought that like something that I won't emphasize so much, and I would kind of would read the perek kind of fast, but I would bring out the things that I want them to know. Is, for example, it's perek kaf be Parashat Lech Lecha, Sarah v'Avimelech. It's Vayera, sorry. Sarah v'Avimelech. 2nd graders, I'll tell them what I want them to take from it. Okay? Again, decide within your team or your school what is appropriate for them to know. Okay. If you want, I don't know if you teach Parashat Lech Lecha, but if this will be help, I wouldn't mind sharing it with you guys.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, you all teach Parashat Lech Lecha and Parashat Vayera?
Yeah. Well, well, I teach first, second, third, so.
Yeah, Parashat. So second graders learn Lech Lecha.
We're a little behind. We're starting, second graders are starting Bereshit.
Oh, well, yeah, because, yeah, it was
The whole Zoom made us a little behind.
right. Okay, so, okay, so we are up to values, right? מה אנחנו לומדים מזה? למה הקדוש ברוך הוא בחר שדווקא החלק הזה יהיה בתורה? Right? You always tell them Hashem is trying to tell us something. What is he trying to tell us? Right? We teach them midot, זריזות למצוות. How do you emphasize זריזות למצוות? Is when you tell them to circle all the verbs that shows that Avraham Avinu, and when I say circle, you circle because Kitavet can circle in the Chumashim, because it's a different Chumashim, print out Chumashim like this. Circle in the Chumash the verbs that describe you that he was in a rush. He, over and over again, it says, Vayaratz, he ran to here, he ran to Sarah, he ran to the Oruchim. He's running. Zrizut lemitzvot. Emor me'at v'aseh harbe. He wasn't sitting and talking and saying, this is what I will do. No, he told them, come, just get some water, rest against the tree, and eat some bread. And at the same time, he's running and he's making this beautiful feast for them. Right? Emor me'at v'aseh harbe. Tzniut. To be humble. Right? That's a midah. להתפלל על חבר. Why can't we see that Avraham Avinu is doing that? He's davening for chaver. He's thinking about other people other than himself. Sdom. נכון? לפני הפיכת סדום. You see Avraham Avinu bargaining with Hashem. What if there are 50 tzaddikim? What is 45 tzaddikim? 40 tzaddikim, right? Goes down to one. Just always thinking about Klal Yisrael. אמונה וביטחון בקדוש ברוך הוא. נכון? We want to teach emunah. How can we teach emunah? You try to make it in a fun way for them. For example, in Parashat Lech Lecha, הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר לאברהם, leave בשכרן, leave אור כסדים, leave your father's house and move. Did he tell him where to? No. So what I do at that point, I cover the kid's eye, one of the friends, and then I tell the other friend, guide him to go from one side of the room to the other, just by your voice. And then you ask the friend who his eyes were covered, how did you feel? Were you scared? And a lot of them said, no, I trust my friend. And when you do games like this, then I can promise you that the first graders would not, they won't even have the patience to wait until they get Chumash lesson from you. You get them excited before even giving them a lesson. Okay, so you could do it by games and stuff like that. And other arachim, kibud orim, right? There are many arachim. This is one of the goals that you could have in mind to teach when you teach Chumash. Chibur regshi, emotional connection. Kids love stories. They love drash, right? They always come with the midrashim. So you tell them stories, sing songs. I don't think Elias is here, but Elias came to one of my lessons and he had to leave because I was singing every second. Like there was always another song. ויתן לך כי את כל הארץ אשר אתה רואה ופרצת. When you try to teach them the directions, you could use that song, put index cards on the floor, and you sing ופרצת. Right? Tzafona, Vanegba, and every time you say Tzafona, they go forward. Vanegba, they go backwards. This is how you could, Kenma Vayama, that's how you could teach them direction. Sipur Ishi, personal story, or you try to get them related to the Dumuyot again. How do you do that? You can do it in Parashat Lech Lecha, and you say, Avraham Avinu is asked to leave his parents' house. He has to leave his city. He has to leave his country. Did you ever have to move from one place to another?
I'm hearing two separate
and we'll start.
Hello?
Very hard to concentrate. I hear two separate
Inviting the students to the
voices.
Oh, do you hear a playback? Because
Settle, we will go.
yeah, I could hear it also.
I'm not sure what.
Oh, sorry, Barbara, I'm muted you by mistake.
Yes, I'm not sure what I hear, but
Everybody hear that? Anyone else has a problem with audio?
And I will go over.
Because I can hear. It could be that somebody else is. Is everyone? I think if everyone will put themselves on mute, maybe you won't hear that.
I don't know if it's from here. It sounds like someone's teaching.
Right?
Oh, maybe my YouTube decided to.
Yes.
שבעצם בא
No, it's not.
before adjective in Hebrew.
Someone is playing my video.
שיש שמות עצם בזכר.
I don't know.
שמות עצם.
Close this, but okay.
בשמות עצם יכול להיות יחיד.
I can still hear it.
Why don't you try muting everybody and see if you could still hear?
Let me see.
שמות עצם יכולים להיות רבים, many of them.
Everybody is muted,
שמות עצם. Okay?
other than Bart. No, but then I won't. No, I think it's. Yeah, it seems like something is here. Okay, let me stop the sharing and let me see what I can do.
בואו נבחר שם עצם.
It's probably on your computer. Something's open and you don't realize. You have to go through all your windows and shut everything.
Okay, how long have you been hearing this? Everybody's hearing this, or?
I don't hear it anymore.
I just started hearing it after you guys started talking about it.
Okay, I closed the window, the YouTube window, but I just wanna make sure that it's open. Okay. You know what? I'm not gonna deal with this right now. I'm going to go back and we're going to finish this the kartisim of the little goals that we could have, and then we're going to take a break so I could set up a little bit and you could walk a little bit. Okay. So we were over here. Do you see it? Do you see it in big or? Okay. Can you guys see it?
Now, yeah, we could see it good.
Okay, great. Okay, so you could do it by singing, by songs, Sipur Ishi. So for example, Sipur Ishi, sometimes I bring my own stories, and when it says that Avraham Avinu oseh nafashot, and we're asking how can you create souls, how do you do that? And you read Rashi, and Rashi says, Avraham Avinu converted the men and Sarai converted the women. And then I tell them that when a person converts, it's like as if they're reborn because they're Jewish neshama reborn. And then I come with my own story and I tell them my father-in-law, he's a convert, and at the age of 20 he converted, and that's his birthday, not the day that he was born, but the day that he was reborn, and that's the date that we all celebrate his birthday. So you could do with Sipurim Ishim, you could, come with personal stories or get them to tell their story. Another thing that you could get them connected, emotional connection to the Chumash is with games, like I said, that you cover their eyes. You can bring sand to the class, and you could say, can you count this, when you're trying to emphasize like how great would Avraham Avinu nation, his descendant will be. You can, what is another thing? Oh, we do it's a big, huge celebration when we finish parasha, and it's not just Kita, that class celebration, it's everybody. So when we finish a parasha, I ring the bell and I get everybody's attention. Doesn't matter if they're in the middle of a lesson or not. And I say, I'm proud of my second graders or third graders that finish parasha, and they're going to read the last pasuk, and they read it together, and then everybody said, chazak, 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 and then that Friday, that class will have a celebration. They will put on a skit to tell the kids what they learned. They would make some sort of food. This year we won't be able to make it to do it, but they would bake challah when they learn about Chayei Sarah, and they give it to everybody in the classroom, and it was a huge celebration. So really get them connected to the Chumash through that.
Sorry, I have questions.
Yes.
So to how many kids do you teach Chumash at the same time?
To however many kids I have in the class.
So if you have 10 second graders, you teach to 10 kids at the same time?
So second graders, I'll do separately. Third graders, I'll do separately. I won't do them together. That was the question?
Little groups of kids.
I'll tell you what, for the past 2 years, I had something around like 10 or 12 kids in a class. Then I gave it to everybody. But we had 3 years ago, I had groups that were just not in the same level, and I didn't think it would be fair to hold one group back or drag along the weaker class. And I want them to feel comfortable with Chumash. Again, you want to ignite this ahava for limud Torah. You don't want to put pressure on it.
Right.
It might be that you're under pressure because you know that you need to get somewhere with them, but no pressure whatsoever on the kids. So we had to divide them, but that's okay. So the weaker group, the end of the school year, they were able to catch up with the other friends, but they did it on their pace. So I was able to break it. So I guess it has to be with a levels.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if you have a parallel class, if you have like another classroom for second and third. Do you have more than one class?
Yeah, we have 3.
We actually have 3.
So maybe you could decide with a teacher and see, maybe you can divide it according to levels. If you have someone who's fluent in Hebrew or learn a lot with the parents, and you know that it would be not really right to hold them back. So maybe you could divide it. Each mora will take another group of students. I don't know. That's just
Okay, so I have another small question.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have like the matarot of each level? For example, I don't know. So for first graders, we teach, I don't know, Brashat Bereshit and certain vocabulary, like
So
to each level.
right. So the training is not really focusing on the matarot. When I came with this training, I mean, there is Chumash manual, I think, that we sent you with little ideas of what you could teach them. The matarot is like the goals that I have in mind when I come to teach Torah. These are the goals, right? But that's the goal for each lesson. You can go on each perek and kind of create your own goals, what you want them to learn. If you want them to learn more verbs, then you
Do you mean like benchmarks? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Leah?
off. Go ahead.
No, Leah, is that what you meant?
Yeah, no, I was meant like if you have for the whole year, what you teach to each level. So for example, by the end of the year, first graders should know Brashat Bereshit.
Yeah, so those are benchmarks.
Oh, yeah, so I have that. Yeah. I do, but we don't start from Bereshit. Kita Bet starts from Parashat Lech Lecha.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so it could be that if you start from Bereshit, yeah, I start from Lech Lecha. I could share this with you if you guys will find helpful. It's Parashat Lech Lecha and Vayera, and I could also share the list that I made for Kita Gimel. Okay?
That'd be great.
It will be very helpful. Thank you.
which is חיי שרה and תולדות. Vayetze? Yeah, I think we,
Michal, the
more
first,
Dusty? We teach up to Vayetze? I think so, right?
Yeah, I teach. I start 4th grade with Vayishlach.
Okay, so yep.
Michal, the first parsha that you teach the children is from Lech Lecha. You don't start from Bereshis?
No.
So
We give them the great lesson. The great lesson. Do you do that? We give a great lesson, kind of like the Montessori way, but you know, in own Jewish way. So we give them the great lesson, and then we give them a few lessons about that, but not into
non-depth.
no. But we read I think Parashat Bereshit in the great lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher reads it in the background as another teacher shows what was created. Yeah, and that's a beautiful, fun lesson to give. So, yeah, so I think that is.
Do you have, sorry, Michal, do you have a presentation, a video of anybody doing the great lesson?
So, I think I can find a video of Rav Darren gives it. I think he was giving it with Maury Knott on a training, but I don't. It doesn't look exactly like a great lesson, because in the great lesson you start with Sir Azman, the timeline. You're trying to pinpoint exactly when was Briat Olam, the beginning of what, everything, the beginning. So you go backwards until you reach the globe. You're going back in time to the time that when there was nothing, and then they enter into a dark room and you can't see anything, and then all they can hear is the teacher's voice reading from the Torah, right? And slowly. So if you want a little glimpse from the great lesson, I could send you that. But
yeah, that would be good.
Or you could wait until I give it.
Oh, okay. If you're gonna give it, we'll wait. Could you let in Malki? She wants to come in.
Yes.
We also, Michal, we also do the great lesson in upper elementary. So we have like.
You have?
I know we have the script for it, like, you know, the different parts. I don't know if we have like an actual video, but I can find out. And someone must have videoed it when we did it at the beginning of this year. So I think we have.
So if you could find that, that would be great. But at the same time, the great lesson of upper elementary is not the same as lower elementary. It's like age appropriate. But it's really beautiful to see how every time they understand it from another point of view. It's like when their world is kind of like everything's just so mupshat, and then they get it into depth. It's like thinking of the globe as like it's a flat because it's round like pita, and then all of a sudden they can understand, their mind can understand that the world is actually right, it's three-dimensional. So okay, so I think that in my notes, I think that one more thing, okay, like didactics, I like I said, so you could like divide the parashot into subtopics, kind of like define a theme for each one. The gesh in Kitab Bet is to get them familiar with the text, okay, so get them comfortable with it. ובכיתה ג' the big goal is יותר שפה, יותר פרטים, more details. Try to find your balance, right? That's something that is always challenging between Kriyat HaTalmid, how much the student is reading in the lesson and how much you're reading in the lesson, how much pshat you put in and how much drash you put in, limud kvutzati, how much you want it to be group study versus individual research. Every time you need to decide, you know, what you want to emphasize, okay? Follow up. It's the same thing with you wanna try to diversify between follow-up that are more toil, more tedious, versus follow-up that are just quick and fun. Yeah, so just I hope that this helped you. The subtopics. So when you go and you plan and you build a lesson, try to have those components. It could, one lesson you could decide to emphasize on both arachim and chibur regshi, because you know that it has a lot of it. But just keep that in mind. Oh, little tools that you could use. You can use mapot, like maps. Give me a second. Maps. You see? איפה חיו האבות? And it says all of נדידת אברהם אבינו. אברהם אבינו and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Okay? Miniature environment. Another tool is Chumash for Kita Bet. And I'm not sure, Cyril, you had a rabbi who came to our school on the conference with Elias.
Itzik? Mora Itzik?
I don't know if he's a rabbi, I think.
No, he's a teacher.
Could be.
The,
He's a
the one
director.
that asked you, the one that asked you a million questions?
No, a director. I think, I don't know, he came from that school with Elias. Maybe he knows, but he was very interested in that Chumash. This is Chumash. Another tool is Chumash for Kita Bet.
Yeah, no, so I think that was Mori Yitzchik. No, Itzik? Yitzi?
He wasn't, I don't know, I haven't seen him. Oh, maybe, could be. In the conference?
He came with Bele and Elias, right?
Yes, so maybe.
So that's my husband.
Oh, okay, so he was very interested in the Chumash.
Right.
In how to symbolize it. And so now I understand why you said that he asked you a million questions.
Yeah, because yesterday he came in and he saw you, he's like, ooh, that's the one I made crazy with all my questions.
No, it was not. It was not. It was really my pleasure. And besides that, like, I enjoy the questions.
Okay, good.
Ilanu Yochasim, you could use family tree. Avraham Avinu, like, show them that everything that I'm talking to you about. I'm going to give you a lesson in the afternoon for both Kita Bet and Gimel, and I'll try. It will look like my lesson is all over the place, but it's just because I'm trying to show you how many tools and how many ways you can teach one thing. Okay? So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and you will watch a video. Okay?
How long is our break?
How long do you want it to be?
Don't ask me.
Are you guys okay with 10 minutes? Should we come back? Yeah?
Okay.
Should we
We'll see you here at,
That works.
what time is it by you? 11:12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Paula, regresamos en 10
Yeah,
minutos.
just leave the Zoom. You could turn off you can mute and take off the camera then. Stay.